Hello everyone, my name is Marian Guevara, and a huge hello and a huge thank you to anyone who is just clicking on this video or checking out the channel. Whether you're a new subscriber or an old subscriber, thank you very much. As always, your viewership is greatly appreciated. So I recently came back from my trip to Brussels. Had an amazing time. We didn't get to stay too long, but nevertheless, I am very grateful for the opportunity to go there. It was just so gorgeous while we were there too. Just beautiful. And while we were in Brussels, I actually picked up a few items, both bookish and non-bookish. And I thought I would do a Belgian and bookish haul. This is actually a similar video to one that I did last year when I went to Stockholm. So I just thought I'd do another one. So I'll start off with the non-bookish items and then move on to the actual books. So the first thing that I have here to show you, I got at the Royal Gallery of St. Hubert, which is this shopping arcade with this gorgeous glazed overhead. And there are a lot, and I mean a lot of chocolate stores there, a lot of chocolate shops. And in one of them, called La Belgique Gourmande, I saw these gorgeous chocolate tins that they were selling, and I needed to have one. They had so many designs, but I decided to pick this one up because it was calling to me. I just had to have it. Just gorgeous. And on the side, you have La Belgique Gourmande. Stunning. Also, while I was there, I wanted to check out the lace shop because apparently in Brussels, they're also known for the Flemish lace. Very delicate, handcrafted. So while I was in there, they were selling table runners, fans, handkerchiefs, but I decided to go for a bookmark. So this is the one I chose, this design. It's Mary holding Jesus. I don't think I'm going to be actually using this in my books because I'm afraid of it fraying and tearing, so I'm just going to keep it in there for the time being. So moving on from the Royal Gallery of St. Hubert, we go to the Royal Museum of Fine Arts. And there's actually two museums there, one for the old masters and then one for Magritte. So René Magritte is a Belgian artist that specialized in the surreal. And I'm not sure if there's a direct connection between Lynch and Magritte. I don't know if Lynch ever mentioned him or cited him as an inspiration, but people have pointed out some parallels between the imagery in some of Lynch's work and then Magritte's artwork. So that's what appealed to me. So the first thing I have here, I actually did not get at the Magritte Museum. I actually got at the airport because I don't think I saw any merch for this particular piece because I know I would have picked it up. And that is a magnet of the Dominion of Light. And I'm going to be showing an image of the actual piece because I don't think you're going to get full appreciation for it with me just holding it up. But yeah, I really, really dig this artwork. It's got this sort of, how do I say this, liminal space type of vibe to it. There's just this foreboding, unsettling feel to some of Magritte's work that I really dig. That just seems really up my alley. So there's that magnet. And I mainly got postcards at the Magritte Museum. So the first one here is called The Field Glass. Just, I don't know, I look at it and it feels a bit unnerving, which I really, really like. And then this one is called The Memories of a Saint. Can definitely get some Twin Peaks vibe here with the red curtains. And then we have the Castle in the Pyrenees. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. So that's all I got at the Magritte Museum. Oh, I also have here our tickets. Show you that. Here's one with one of Magritte's artwork called Black Magic. So now we move on to all the items that I got at the Old Masters gift shop. They're all of Peter Bruegel's work, by the way. So the first one is this postcard of the Fall of Icarus. And I've always been drawn to this painting ever since I read The Man Who Fell to Earth by Walter Tevis, where they actually talk about this painting in the book. And you're probably wondering, why is it called The Fall of Icarus? And if you look here, in the bottom right-hand corner, you see these legs flailing in the sea. And that's Icarus. He's fell from the sky, he's fell to the ocean and now he's drowning. And yet the focus isn't on him. It's on these villagers going about their day. So I think it's just very interesting that for both the people in the painting and the viewer, the tragedy is not the focus. The tragedy kind of goes, ignored or unnoticed. The next postcard that I have here is from a piece that really caught my attention when I saw it as I was going around the museum. And it's another Bruegel work, and that is The Fall of the Rebel Angels. I initially thought that this was Hieronymus Bosch who did it, but no, it's Peter Bruegel. And yeah, it's just so crazy and just stunning. And I was actually really drawn to the figure of Saint Michael the Archangel here in the middle. I don't know, there's just something about this piece that kind of really captured me. So yeah, I had to have it. And then lastly, I was looking for a postcard for the Tower of Babel, but unfortunately they didn't have any. I was looking around, I was frustrated because I couldn't find anything. But lo and behold, they had a clear file of Peter Bruegel's The Tower of Babel. And I saw this and I knew I had to immediately get it. I wonder why I'm so drawn to the Tower of Babel. Who knows? It's a mystery. But yeah, anyway, very glad to have picked this one up. I really dig clear files. I'm building up a very small collection of them. I don't know if there are any clear files here in the States, at least where I'm from. I've never seen any clear files anywhere. Definitely should have more. I think they're a great way of not only holding like your papers, but just displaying beautiful artwork as well. So yeah. So now we move on to the books that I got in Brussels. So I visited 2 bookstores during my stay, and one of them was actually at the Royal Gallery of St. Hubert. It's called Tropisme. I know I butchered that name to high heaven, but I'm sorry. But it is a French bookstore, and it's stunning. Unfortunately, I didn't get any pics of it. I'm very bad at actually, taking pictures while on vacation. Oftentimes, I just get caught up in the moment that I forget to whip out my phone and take a picture. Also, I feel self-conscious taking a picture inside a store because, people are going around and you're immediately clocked as a tourist if you're just taking pictures while inside the store. But anyway, I was on the second floor where they had the children's books and the graphic novels and the manga. And because it's Belgium, where they speak French, German, I saw all these graphic novels in French and something clicked in my brain. And I remembered thinking, wait a second, there's a book here that you should actually be looking for. I scanned the floor and there on the display table, they had it. And that is the graphic novel edition of A Winter's Promise, which is the first book in the Mirror Quartet by Christelle Dabos. So for those who don't know me, the Mirror Quartet is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time, maybe one of my favorite series of all time. I love it so much. And I knew for quite a while that they actually put out a graphic novel version of the first book. I believe it's only in French so far. I don't know if it's been translated into any other language. But yeah, I was having a difficult time finding ways to purchase this book. I think the only option that I had at the time was through A-Books, and the shipping fee was just, that was a bit too steep for me. So I was so ecstatic to see a copy in person. And it never occurred to me. I knew I was going to Belgium. I knew that they spoke French there. I knew that I was going to be visiting bookstores. It just never occurred to me to just try to look for this book. But it turned out all right. So yeah, this is once again, a graphic novel. So it's in French, obviously. I can't speak French, so I technically can't read what they're saying, but I know the story by heart. So I know more or less what's going on in the scenes. So yeah, just because I can't read French doesn't mean, it's not going to stop me from picking up this book. So yeah. Now, the second bookstore that I went to in Brussels was Waterstones, and I've always wanted to go to Waterstones ever since I heard about it, knew about it, and I never thought that the first Waterstones that I visit would be in Brussels and not in the UK, but here we are. So I was a woman on a mission. I wanted to see what editions they had and if they had any that I was looking for. So I kind of went a bit ham while I was there, at least ham for me, and I left with 4 books. The first of them is Brideshead Revisited by Eva Lenoir. Now, I've already read Brideshead Revisited. It's a 5-star read for me. This is a repurchase because I currently don't have the original copy that I read from, which is actually this Penguin Modern Classic Edition. So I decided to pick it up so that now I have the physical book to put on my official shelves. So yeah, still the only wall that I've read, but I definitely ought to read more for sure. And since I was in a bookstore in Europe, I wanted to see their selection of British Library Tales of the Weird and SF Masterworks. So in terms of Tales of the Weird, they did have one that I was really wanting to get, and that is Return of the Ancients, Unruly Tales of the Mythological Weird. This one edited by Katie Sower. And this is a theme that's after my own heart. Really appeals to me. These are stories that were written from the late 19th century all the way to the 21st century, the early 21st century, and they deal with these ancient deities kind of returning to the modern era, and they are from myths that range from, Greek, British, Norse, Egyptian. I'm actually currently reading this, and I'm around halfway through and enjoying it very much. I'll definitely be adding it to my personal collection here in the back. But yeah, there's only 2 authors that I'm familiar with in this collection, Vernon Lee and John Wyndham. I really like collections where I'm not familiar with any of the authors. In terms of SF Masterworks, I was really hoping to find The Deep by John Crowley. Unfortunately, they didn't have it. However, they did have A Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge. Now, this one has been sort of on my want to read list for quite a long time. In fact, whenever I'm on Blackwell's, I'm kind of debating whether or not to just bite the bullet and put it in my cart, because I don't know why, but I just get this feeling that A Fire Upon the Deep is going to go out of print. I don't know why, but yeah. So I finally got it. Finally got a copy while I was there in Brussels, and I was really drawn to the premise. So the premise is that in the far future, millennia into the future, the universe space has been partitioned into these zones of thought. And your placement in these zones of thought will determine sort of your level of intelligence. So in one zone, you have the species that is hyper intelligent to a point where they transcend. And then maybe in one zone, you have a very primitive people. So the premise alone intrigued me enough to pick it up. However, I'm not really familiar with the actual plot. So in the back here it says, when an ancient transcendent artifact is used as a weapon, an awesome destructive power is unleashed. Fleeing this threat, a family of scientists is captured by an alien race with a harsh medieval culture. I just realized that they misspelled captured. A rescue party is assembled to retrieve them, and a secret that may save the rest of interstellar civilization. So yeah, that's A Fire Upon the Deep. It won the Hugo Award apparently back in the day. I believe this came out in the 90s, in fact. And this also happens to, in my opinion, have one of the most beautiful covers in the SF Masterworks. Now, moving on to the last book and the last item in this entire book haul, we have The Terror by Dan Simmons. I've been meaning to read The Terror for quite a while, but I was actually looking for this particular cover, which might be a shock because it's a TV show tie-in cover, and normally I detest movie or TV show covers. However, this one I feel like is more fitting than any other cover that I've seen for The Terror. I mean, just this close-up of Ciarán Hinds' freaked out face, I think it's just perfect. Unfortunately, there's this irremovable sticker, but what can you do? The Terror is a historical fiction horror story that takes place in the mid-19th century during this expedition to find the Northwest Passage. They end up getting stuck in the Arctic, and something unknown is picking off the men one by one. So, very interesting. It's a chunker. It's over 900 pages, but I don't know. I might end up really loving this one. So yeah. Also, I did get a bookmark from my purchase there as well. So a little souvenir from the Waterstones in Brussels. So those were all the items that I got during my trip in Brussels. Like I said in the beginning, I had a fantastic time. Very, very grateful to have gone and visit Belgium. And hopefully I get to go back eventually, one day. Who knows? So yes, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!